Today's layout is going to be featuring double-sided two-tone cardstock. So as you can see, there's a true side and a lighter side of all of these. And they are white core, so you can kind of see there that there's a white core to all of these cardstocks. And then I have some scraps. Not all of these are 12 by 12. I'm going to try to use up some scraps. I have my changing leaf stamps and die cuts. And this is part of the last chance sale. This is discounted, so I'll have that linked below if you love this as much as I do. But during the fall, I used this a ton, and this is all one piece that cuts out the embossing folder. So it's a hybrid, so that's awesome. And then I have a bunch of embossing folders here that I might bring in. I'm not quite sure which ones yet, but I just grabbed a handful that I thought would go good with the theme I'm trying to portray. This is a collaboration with the Inspiration Collaboration Design Team, where we are taking two-toned white core cardstock and showing you what can be done to reveal that white core. Let's get started. To begin, I'm bringing in this rail trimmer, but it's actually a scoring blade. It's not a cutting blade. So I am going to start with one of these. Let me get the other one out of the way so you can see better. And I'm gonna go in a 1/2 inch. So that's that line right there. And then I am going to start a 1/2 inch in, which this is kind of difficult to, so here's 1 inch. The inches are down at the bottom. So right here would be a 1/2 inch. And I'm gonna go all the way to 11.5. Okay, do you see that score line? And actually, I just realized I want the dark to show, so I'm gonna go on the light side. So let's run that across one more time so it's on the other side. Okay, so now it's raised on the dark side. Okay, so again, dark side face down, going up to the 1/2 inch, starting at a 1/2 inch here, and then going to 11.5. And I'm gonna do that all the way around. I have this sanding, it's a round sanding disc from my husband's garage, and I just fold it and use it as a sanding block. But as you can see, I cut some off of it to stick to my, this is to hold like my foam for inking, but it's Velcro, and this is Velcro on the back, so it sticks perfectly. So I just cut a little piece off for that. Now, if you remember, we did the dark side face down when we ran it through our scoring. So the raised part is on that dark side. So I am going to take my sanding disc and just lightly go over that score. And because this is white core paper, it'll reveal that line. Do you see how that's coming off there? I'm hoping to hide this little mistake, but what I have found easiest is just make sure that your disc is completely flat. Don't try to just get on that line. Just make sure it's completely flat, and then when you go over it, it only hits that raised part. So it's better to go in with confidence, because when you try to angle it, it does not work as good. I'm not worried about, my disc isn't too big, so it's not hitting my Versamat, but if you were like getting on the edge, you might want to make sure that you're not on your Versamat. You don't want to scratch off your grid lines and whatnot. There's a little piece of paper here, and I went over that and got that mark. Now I'm using my rail trimmer, and I am going to cut, I think, an inch. No, an inch and 1.5 so that I have room to for my adhesive. So I'll start at 1.5 inches and go over to 10.5. And I'll do that all the way around. And this will just allow me to save some of that paper. Oh, 10.5. That was close. And I can use that inside for photo mats or embellishing. It allows me to just get more out of my paper. All right. And I'll do the other one. I cut these white pieces 10 by 10. So those will go in the center. I have those centers cut out, so that'll look like that. And then we just need to add our paper layers. I cut this piece of red cardstock to 5.5 by 10, so that'll fit perfectly in the center here. And then this piece is cut to 4 3/4 by 9. That's gonna go over on this side. And then I wanna bring some of that red over here. So here's another piece of my scraps, and I'm thinking just maybe overlapping it slightly. I cut this red piece down to 8 by 5.5. So then I'm thinking that could go like this, and then I could do a larger photo mat, maybe a 4 by 6 here. Here's a 4 by 6 mat, so that could go there. Okay, and then maybe a smaller picture on this side, and then maybe some 3 by 4s over here. So I have 3 by 4s, and then to bring in some more of that orange, I'm going to bring in an orange photo mat here. Okay, and then you had seen that I wanted to bring in this blue. I'm going to do some paper tearing to reveal the white core to go along the bottom. So these are just scraps from my stash, and this one is 1.5. These are about the same. Yeah, 1.5 inch. I'm just gonna use them because that's what I have. So I'm thinking for sure here, and then I'm not sure on this side. So this was 10 inches, so I'm gonna cut this to 10 inches. I want the true side to show, so I have the dark facing me, and if you tear towards yourself, it reveals that white core. Now if you tear away from yourself, it does not. Do you see that? So going back up here, we'll tear towards ourselves. All right, I'm gonna just clean this edge up a little bit since I showed you the opposite direction. It just doesn't flow as nice. There we go. So that will go down here. And I might actually layer that so not so much of the blue is showing. And then I'd like to repeat that blue or some tearing on this side. I'm just not quite sure how that would look. Or do it under my picture. Under my picture might actually be in line with that. So let's cut this to 4 inches. And then we'll tear this one towards us. And then that might kind of line up nicely with that. I am going to emboss my 2 orange pieces. And I'm using the Forever Plaid 3D embossing folder. When you run the paper through the embossing folder, sometimes the paper kind of cracks or like reveals that white core. If you didn't want that white to show through, you could always bring in a little spray bottle, mist your paper, I would do front and back, and then run it through, and a lot of times that will prevent any white showing. But since I've already kind of distressed some and you know, I'm letting the white core peek through, I am just going to run it through without any water. And my piece is a little large, so I am going to put that in as straight as possible, run that through, and then I'll just need to run it through a little bit more to finish that off. So I'm going to go ahead and run that through my machine, and this one as well. I got those two pieces embossed. As you can see, this one here didn't crack as much, but this piece, can you see the white? The white is showing through. I'm okay with that. And I'm going to bring that sandpaper back in, and I'm just going to go over those high spots and intentionally rough it up. Look at how much more that peeks through. I'm going to go away from my layout so that I don't get orange all over it. There we go. How fun. Okay, so this is going to go here, here. Look at how much more detail that brings in. So fun. I do want to bring in a little more blue. So from my stash, I have a tags die, and I used the light side of that same orange. My red is a little more bold than what I'm wanting as well. So I'm coming in with my sandpaper, and I will just go along the edges like so, revealing that white core. And I'm kind of going at an angle, so I'm hitting the surface. I am getting red on my layout, so I'm just going to step away and finish going around all of the edges. I'm going to use the Changing Leaves dies and then the embossing folder as well. This is the hybrid. So in order to use this, the hybrid part of it, you can use them separately for sure. I am just going to measure my cardstock here and cut it smaller so it'll fit in the envelope. Okay. And then this lines up with this. So it just kind of snaps into place. You'll kind of feel it catch. And then it's easier if you can feel that catch and then put your paper on. Do you want the light side or the dark side showing? And maybe I'll do the light side. You'll line that up, and then you'll close that folder and run it through your machine on the embossing side. If you have the Stampin' Up! Embossing machine, then it would be 4 on top, your folder, and then 1. And it says when using a 3D embossing folder. Okay, so then we'll open this up. It embossed and die cut it all at the same time. Can you see that texture? And then same with these, they have texture. And then these ones, we can fussy cut out to use so that those aren't going to waste. So I'll go ahead and use my microtip scissors and fussy cut those pieces out. I've cut and embossed a whole bunch of leaves. So I did yellow and orange, and then I did that red in this type of leaf, which is from that Changing Leaves as well. So now for my clusters, I'm just going to set these aside here. So I'm thinking I want one up here because the powder that comes off of this when you, like the paper shavings, when you sand it, got mixed with some glue, I think, and it made a little orange spot here. So it'd be nice to hide that. I might just rip this tail off. We could maybe go like this. And then kind of create a cluster over there. Okay, something like that on this side, and then I'm thinking my title down here, so maybe a cluster with my title, and then maybe back up into this corner to kind of create that visual triangle. So then having some up in this area as well. I still have some fall stickers from different collections. So I'm thinking I might bring in some of these too into these clusters. Maybe these little banners or like this. So I might bring some of those in. You could definitely leave these leaves as is, or you could come in with your sanding paper again, or your little sanding block, wherever mine went, and you could run over this since it is textured with that embossing folder. You could run over that and reveal some white, but I actually think I'm going to come in with some of my Sundance ink and just lightly blend over it. So I have some Sundance. This is close to my heart color, but any orange or whatever color you want to bring in will work just fine. And I'm just kind of focusing on that center of the leaf and blending outward so that it just has a little more dimension and reveals a little bit more of that texture from the embossing folder. You can really tell once it's off of here. I think Sundance will show on this. We'll find out on the orange. Oh yeah, it shows up. And you can see I'm kind of going in a circular motion, kind of sticking into that center and then fading out. I like how it reveals more texture. And then I am pouncing it off to the side here just so that I don't get those harsh starting points. If I went directly onto my leaf, it would kind of be a harsh blotch. And I'm just kind of sticking to the bottom of the leaf again. And I'm going to go through and do this to all of them. From that sticker sheet, I used Pumpkin Spice and Everything Nice as my title. I added all of these leaves around and then added all these leaves, and then these are stickers. I added a couple of the stickers up to this blue section, and then this one here was a sticker, and this pumpkin patch was a sticker. And I didn't push it down all the way, and now it moved. Go. Make sure that's straight. And then to fill in the holes, because we can't just leave those, I have some of this twine, and it is the Baker's Twine Essentials. I'm going to use the brown since I brought in just a little bit of brown over here in these stickers. So how I like to add the twine, just fold it in half, and then we'll go ahead and stick it through. I'm going to try the front. Sometimes I like it better when I stick it through the back. We'll see what looks best. Yeah, no, that looks good. This one I don't need nearly as long. I'm gonna trim that one down. Have croutons in the oven right now, and they smell so good. I am going to add just a little glue dot. So these are the mini glue dots. And I'm just going to add, I'm going to separate them out so that it's easier to handle. So there's one glue dot on here. I don't know if you can even see it. And then one glue dot on here. So then I'm just going to determine where I want that. Put the little glue dot down and then tack that. And then do the same with this one. And just one last finishing touch. I'm bringing in my classic matte dots. And I'm going to use the cream color. There's white, cream, gray, and black. I'm going to use the cream. And I'm just going to add a few to all of my clusters. The layout is complete. Let's take a close-up here. So this is all just cardstock, embossed, no pattern papers. We use some stickers. We revealed some of that white in the embossing and then over on our border, and then by tearing and sanding, we've done so many different techniques. Down here would be a great spot for journaling. Everything I used will be in the description box below, along with the playlist for the Inspiration Collaboration Design Team. I hope this inspired you to make your own pattern paper. If you don't have any pattern paper in your stash, get out your cardstock and do some fun techniques. Until next time, live a life worth scrapping. Bye, guys.